Welcome to this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us author and poet Tory Tomberlin. She is a writer deeply immersed in the romantic tradition of poetry, finding inspirations in the words of Byron, Shelley, Keats,
Good day to you. Nice to see you, AJ.
Welcome to the show. Nice to see you too. Tory, welcome to the show. Welcome to India once again in this online form. But I'm sure this is not just about India. This is about the beauty of nature, beauty of poetry, and we'll be talking a lot about so many.
Oh, yes, the beauty of poetry, a rich and distinct history, with examples dating back to 2100 BC from the Epic of Gilgamesh, written on stone tablets and had to be translated. And then 250,000 copies were made in 2019. So poetry has a diverse history, and it's fascinating to me to talk a little bit about that and about my book, Beauty in the Branches, as well.
Absolutely, Tory. So first, we will talk about, and it's fascinating to know about, 2100 BC poetry. It's poetry is everywhere. We cannot run from poetry from anywhere because we have to understand it. But before that, let's understand a bit about your venturing into poetry, Tory. Tell us about that story. That is a lot of people would be interested to know about.
Well, I started at a very young age. I had some absolutely terrific teachers in school. And so I was exposed to poetry at a very, very young age, to literature, studying Shakespeare. Then I went into drama, studied fine plays. So that's where it began. And then, of all things, I went into healthcare for a career. And so then I became a salty healthcare professional. And then I retired. And all of a sudden, the beauty of the poetry just gushed. And so here's my book, Beauty in the Branches. And I would love to read a poem to you.
Absolutely, Tory. And then we'll get on with the rest of the interview. Wonderfully. I wait for the poem.
This poem is called Forest Beneath My Feet. The dry dirt crunches beneath my forest feet. The trees greet me in fullness, silently, majestically, showing me the wonders ahead, welcoming me in nature's fashion. The path before me narrowing, a simple wooden bridge, sturdy it will hold me. I cross in slow, deliberate steps. The magical moment across the bridge, my soul encapsulates the rest. The narrow dirt path with the rock bed below, all the greenery to behold, tree trunks massive and mossy, enriching every step. The narrow path, full of new suns, signals me to carry on. Golden rays begin to sing to the trees and butterfly wings, glimmering amber hues, the forest sounding in delightful rings. Ferns in precision look dainty against the towering mossy trees in vision. Green of every forest shade. How difficult to leave the forest as I quietly walk away.
Wonderful, Tory. How do you get such language, such words, such charisma, Tory? Means, is someone just born with it, or you can develop this story?
It is not something that you're born with. It's something that you can create. I can create something by going out on a morning walk. Another interesting introspection of a poem about an old rosewood table. That just came from visiting my sister when I was beginning to write poems. And I saw her old rosewood table. And so the poem, the old rosewood table, was written. And may I share that with you?
Of course.
The old rosewood table, regal yet bare, The rings of time tell tales, silent tales of times past. The sturdy, dusty table of time does show the proud heritage in the family line, the marks of happy times never removed, evading the dustpan and the broom. Sturdy the old rosewood table, the future rings have yet to be told. In rings of time, silent and old, with well-worn hinges and weathered nails, the old rosewood table still prevails. Kind of reminds you of me, well-worn hinges of withered nails. I feel a bit like that, introspective. But just looking at something so simple can just create a poem from my imagination. And if you put some rhyme and meter, and as you can see, I add color to my poetry to bring out beauty in what we have around us.
Absolutely, what we have around us. But what do we need to see that? Do we need sight? Do we need hearing? What is it that we need? Many people think, I'm sitting in one corner, dark corner, and there is no beauty. Outside, there is no beauty. Inside my life, how can they look at this part of life, the beauty of nature, the beauty of beauty itself? How do they put that into the words?
You can capture that from inside, even from memory, from remembering something, from looking at a picture, it doesn't necessarily have to be external. It can be coming from inside as well. I think my poetry expresses that beauty can be found either internally or externally. And that's what I try to bring out through my poetry, through nature. I have another poem for you, AJ.
Yes, please. Yes.
This is a special poem for you. This is a brand new poem. Now, I have a blog on my website, www.tjpoetry.tomberlin. So I will put some new poetries. I'm also going to be writing another poetry volume. This poem called If I Ever Dance Again. If I ever dance again, it will be free, unburdened, just the music and the night, then a slow song, a sweet surrender to the rhythm, bathed in soft light. Who knew this slow dance could capture me here in the tropical air, so warm and bright? Woven into the vibrant atmosphere, I lose myself within the rhythm here. If I ever dance again, it will be free. No burden, just the music on the night's soft breeze, the scent of jasmine, the moon's gentle ease. That will be a new one. So wonderful. Exciting to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. When we look at the world in reality, that can become, the way climate change, so many things are happening, AI and all. Sometimes you just forget that there is so much beauty out there in nature, the world around us. But then,
it can be a simple walk. It can be looking at a flower. It doesn't have to be totally immersing yourself in nature. It can just be mentally looking at nature, expressing yourself, make it a rhyme, study rhyming, meter, and add color to it. And you have a poem. Keep going, right?
Keep going. But what to do? See, how do you get this Global Book Award for poetry? You got it. Acknowledgement letter of appreciation from Her Royal Highness,
yes.
Catherine Princess. So how do you get to that? Do you first think of getting that first, or do you think of first writing, Tory? What is the process that you adopt?
I write. I haven't been looking at notoriety. I enjoy just talking about poetry with you. And it's just such a joy to me that all of the rest is peripheral to me. Exposing people to poetry, going to my website, https tjpoetry.com. Tell me what you think about my poems. I'm going to put some new ones out there as well. And I'm going to be published in a new literary magazine called The Zest of the Lemon.com. And two of my poems will be in there as well. So things are hopping along for me.
Absolutely. That's a great thing. This brings into, attention about the beauty around us. Also, poetry will be much more in currency. And that is a good thing. Poetry, there are so many things when people come to know, okay, AI can write poetry. Anyone can write poetry. But when you get this sort of a poetry, your understanding of life, love, beauty, relation, everything changes. It becomes much more positive, Tory.
Yes.
And that is,
Yes.
brings
And
me
that's
to
the beauty. That's the beauty of Inside coming out to share that with you. That's where the joy is I have a beautiful poetry collection that I just want to share. And the poems keep
Absolutely.
coming out. Help!
Absolutely. And that is what brings me to your book, The Beauty in the Branches. So tell us a bit about this particular poetry collection of yours. What is this all about? How did this come about? What is it that readers can find in this particular book?
You can find a diverse amount of subjects. I really focus on nature, streams, forests. I also focus on wildlife. Real concern, of course, is the wildlife that are endangered. So in my next set of poetry, we'll be focusing a little bit on the endangered species. We have a lot to worry about in that respect. But more than that, just some introspective poems for me about the process of becoming older, and enjoying that. The creative process has just been incredible for me. I just have a diverse concern about our wildlife, our horses in the United States, and get to know me and my poetry collection. I think it's a beautiful work.
Absolutely. So from this particular work of yours, what do you want readers of this particular collection? What message do you want them to take away from this collection? What insight you want them to take away from this collection, poetry collection of your story?
There's beauty in everything. There's beauty from within yourself, outside. You don't have to look far to find beauty in everyday life, in an old rosewood table, in the beauty of seeing a horse, in the beauty of seeing a fern tree. It's all around us. And I just want to know, I want people to know in my poetry that beauty is around us, to be seen every single day. That's my message.
Absolutely. Any upcoming projects? You have written quite a lot. Any other poetry collection books that you would want to mention here for reference?
Yeah, the zestofthelemon.com, that'll be coming up. And then hopefully I'm going to be publishing another volume of my poems. I have about 20 new poems out there. And also on my blog, on my website, I will post new poems there as well. So it's
Absolutely.
good. And
Right.
I've been nominated for guest podcaster. So through the women's podcast organization. So more information about that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Congratulations for that, Tori. Now, I want to understand in terms of, that you don't talk about challenges with so much of laughter, happiness, beauty of nature. You make it sound like it is easy. It is not an easy
Oh,
job. So I want
no.
to
You can ask
understand about the challenges.
the meter and the rhyme. I have to constantly read out loud because it drives some people crazy when I'm reading out loud and getting inspiration, and it has to read well for me to publish it. It has to be in perfect sequence. So that's my real challenge is sometimes I have writer's block and it's just not there, and so I will go do something else and come back later. But it's constant work. It is constant work. Of course, there's always the fear of the empty page, which really isn't an issue. It's just the fear of the empty word in my mind. And, I have to get the words going. And so sometimes that is a challenge.
Right, right.
And then I can go back and read some poetry and read some classics and be inspired.
Absolutely. So, what is it in terms of legacy, Tori? How do you want, your books to leave that legacy for you? How do you want to tell your poems about your poetry to the world? Have you thought about that at any point in time?
I found her poetry to be beautiful and engaging. And I want to leave words of beauty for people to enjoy, whether it's over a glass of wine, a hot cup of tea. It's that kind of poetry to bring you into my beautiful poetry path and take you where it leads to different places, where it's forest, whether it's a castle, whether it's an old English street, all of it. So I'm very happy to be able to present that to you today.
Absolutely. And especially, in a future world, the future which is so full of, looks like artificial intelligence, lots of artificiality. Your poem will remind them that there was a time when nature was so beautiful. There is still nature beautiful out there. All you have to move out of your cubicles from
That's
wherever one is.
How true, AJ, how true. And the wonderful thing about any poetry is I would never compare myself to the classics, but if you understand poetry, if you understand the rhyme and the meter, and then you add color to it, then it's there. But it takes study. It didn't just happen overnight. It was years of study, and then a lot of writing and rewriting to make sense of all of it. And some of it, edit out and things like that. So it's a process. It's been 2 years now. 2 years, a year since you and I have spoken. So I'm pleased with the progression, slow progression, but it's there. And I'm just delighted.
Absolutely. And this is not just the second time. There will be many more times. We'll talk about poems, much more poetry, many more poetry collections, because this is what the real world is all about, and it is good to be reminded about that much more often.
And it's so good to see a smile on your face. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome, Tori. There is much to learn about all these things from you, Tori, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more about your poetry, your writing process, your poems, your poetry collection, upcoming projects, and what's happening with the podcast and other things in all these things that you do. What's the best way for them to do so, Tori?
www.tjpoetry.com. or HTTPS,
Wonderful.
tjpoetry.com. Yeah. And thank you so
Wonderful.
much again. EJ, you are just the best. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for those kind words, Story. With this, it's a
And
wrap on this very
happy Poetry Month.
absolutely, absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.